Hi, welcome to the channel. It's not all about 10th, and there's still time to play 9th and the relatively free way of building armies in the Arks of Omen. I'm continuing my series of taking a silly list to a tournament, and in similar fashion I'm basing it around a Lord of War, or in this case 3 Lords of War, as I'm taking AELDARI and WRAITHKNIGHTS. Why Eldar? You don't collect them! Well, exactly, I don't actually collect Eldar, but I do like the WRAITHKNIGHT models, and they fit the bill perfectly for the way I want to play, so I'm going to take 3 of them. And I do own HARLEQUIN'S mainly because of how pretty they are. So let's see how I'm going to build my list for an RTT very soon. So first, the WRAITHKNIGHTS. And let's be honest, they are a bit expensive. And starting at 400 points, their upgrades are also very expensive. Only 22 wounds, 3 plus save, 5 plus invuln, minus 1 damage. But they can have a shield for a 4 plus invuln. But I'll be swapping that out to get some extra firepower for a couple. There's a Sun Cannon, a Terminator Killer with 3 damage. And a big damage Wraith Cannon dealing D3 plus 6 damage. And crucially an extra D3 mortal wounds on 6s to wound. The fact these guys get Strands of Fate and you can turn a wound into a 6 is a nice way to activate this. Now for the melee, and it carries a Ghost Glaive, which is pretty good. 5 to 15 attacks, and the big strike mode is particularly hard hitting with 6 damage. I'll take a mixture of shooty and melee, and at the very least it'll be a fun challenge. So since I'm taking Eldar, what does that give me? Battle Focus allows you to advance and shoot assault and pistol weapons without penalty. If you shoot without advancing, you can make a D6-inch move afterwards, a bit like Fire and Fade. And it's certainly easy for single model units to step out from terrain, shoot and then duck back again. Strands of Fate are a really powerful mechanism to change the result of a dice to a 6. This can affect advance, charge, psychic tests, hit, wound and save rolls. In a standard game you roll 6d6 and then pick 4. Each result represents the type of roll you can manipulate, so any special ability that triggers on a 6 is sorted. And if you need to give yourself the best chance to make a charge, it's also sorted. As you'd expect, the Eldar has some great psychic powers, well worth making the most of these. Things like Guide and Doom for reroll hits and reroll wounds, tons of mortal wound generating spells, or just the classic gain a CP. So for my list, I'm going to take CRAFTWORLD ULTHWÉ, and why I hear you ask. The reroll 1 wound for each unit per phase is very powerful for the WRAITHKNIGHTS and their high damage guns. I'd get a +1 to cast, and as I mentioned, the powers are great. Everything gets a 6 plus invuln, but that won't really affect my list. And everyone gets a 5 plus feel no pain in its mortal wounds. The Warlord trait is also great, being able to keep an extra Strand of Fate per turn, so that's 5. And to build an Arks of Omen detachment with 3 Lords of War, I also need a HQ or 2. So let's look at what the best ones in the codex are. BAHARROTH, this guy is great. 160 points, hitting on 2s, 2 plus save, 4 plus invuln, and he can only lose 3 wounds a phase. He's got handy shooting and melee with auto wound and exploding abilities on 6s, and let's not forget the Strands of Fate for that. And the key thing for this guy is his movement. He's got 14 inches standard. He gets Battle Focus, so you can advance and shoot without penalty, or just get that cheeky Fire and Fade. And the main thing that in each turn, if he uses Battle Focus or consolidates after firing, he can teleport anywhere on the battlefield. But that's massively powerful. This is just jumping into your opponent's deployment zone and starting causing trouble or distracting them. Even better, as if he does a charge, he can fight and then teleport away before being hit back. This is very sneaky. The next auto taken in Eldar arm is a Farseer, don't leave home without one. Any will do to get access to the 2 psychic casts. They ignore Perils of the Warp, and allow you to reroll a Strand of Fate dice at the start of your turn, so if you want to try and get something more preferable. They're not particularly known for their attacking, but they do hit and wound on 2s in melee, which is nice. Go for the Farseer Skyrunner for the speed with their 16-inch move and auto advance 6. Or if you like me and like playing ULTHWÉ, then ELDRAD ULTHRAN is a great option. So ELDRAD is the most expensive Farseer at 145 points, but he comes with an extra attack and can cast an extra power, so that's 3 and deny 2. He can also re-roll his psychic tests, and is transhuman, so you can only actually wound him on a 4+. Not sure where that comes from. All that's a nice package if you're taking ULTHWÉ. I've achieved the basics of an Arks of Omen detachment, so next is a Battle Brothers patrol detachment of HARLEQUIN'S. Why, I hear you ask? Partly because I have them and want to play them. They are nerfed with only a 5 plus invuln now, but generally they're quick and tricksy. SAEDATHs have been nerfed hard, but they are -1 to hit in melee, and the fast vehicles switch off rerolls to hit, and are often also -1 to hit in ranged as well. Skyweaver bikes and infantry get to advance or fall back and then shoot and charge. Vehicles get an auto advance of 6, and most units get to move through models, including when charging. Haywire cannons are great against vehicles, with always wounding on 4+, and generating mortal wounds on 6s in addition. Character upgrades are also pretty good. So which SAEDATH to take for them? I'm taking fast vehicles, squishy troops and characters, so I think the light SAEDATH suits me best. They get transhuman to hit over 18 inches, so that's only hit on 4+, and there's no penalties for advancing and shooting. They have a cool strat for 1 CP, that when they're charged they can get to move away from the charging unit by 6 inches. The opponent can redeclare a charge to somewhere else, but that is pretty tricksy. A quick chat about a character that I'm taking that will be great for my army, the Death Jester. only 70 points, and it's all about the shooting, hitting on 2s. His Shrieker Cannon can ignore Lookout Sir, so 3 attacks at 2 damage. There's 2 good points-based upgrades for him. Harvester of Torments, its hits on 6s gets 3 additional hits. And Lord of Crystal Bones, when you hit a unit, that unit has -2 to its movement and then can't overwatch. Now give him a Warlord trait, the Favour of Kegarach being a good one. Once per turn, change a hit, wound or save to a 6. So that's really handy to get those exploding hits from Pivotal Roll. And being able to selectively switch off Overwatch just by hitting on 2+ is really nice. I'm not going to chat about strats, but there are loads of good ones. And that's the overview of my list, and I'd really like to hear from you what you think of my list. And if you want to join me at this next RTT, it's on the April 15th at the Outpost in Sheffield. I'll see you again soon. Bye.